Hello, welcome back. This is What Did Stories Say? And we're featuring mothers in the month of May, as the whole world seems to be doing. I am delighted to feature a mother or two on What Did Stories Say? What Did Stories Say? I come in, let me talk story. I tell the stories of my village, the women in my village, to talk about their transformational oral histories and what kind of work they do. I talk about our whispered stories, our family traditions, our hidden practice, and sometimes long forgotten traditions. Loud talk story. Last time, I told you a couple of stories. I told you about my auntie baby, how she was transformational in my life. I told you about Cheryl Glenn's grandmother, Mother Adams, and about her mom and the kinds of stories that she tells her daughters. And I'm going to continue with Clarabelle, because Clarabelle has a wealth of information that we can gather and get a profile of some of these mothers that are immortal to us, that we always refer to. Okay? So Mother Adams, Clarabelle, was Cheryl's grandmother. And she lived in a small house at Buxton Sideline Dam area there. And Teacher Cheryl used to go and visit her when they had holidays, when she was a child. So this time Cheryl said to me, she said, "Girl, I watch me grandmother. And they should cook. And she dishing out." Now, she grandmother had 12 children. And sometimes these children, even though they were grown, they would go to her house. And she grandmother dishing out for children and grandchildren and so. There's a grandmother dishing out the food. For you don't know, dish out means to serve. So in Guyana, you don't really go serve yourself. Your parents will dish out the food for you, right? So it's her grandmother dishing out. And she putting the food in plate. She line them up on a table and she dishing out. She see mother dish out all them plates, but she counting the people who's supposed to eat, but one plate missing. She said, "Well, is who plate missing?" And then mother give out all this food and she ain't see no plate for mother. So she said to herself, it's what she gonna do. Next thing she know, she said, "Mother, take the pot and scrape out the rice that was in the pot into the cannery." Now the cannery is the pot that you're cooking the stew in. Let us say she make beef stew that day, right? The little gravy and stuff that left at the bottom of the cannery, she put the rice inside, and then she take the spoon and she turning it up so. Turn it up. Then when everybody sit down to eat, she saw she grandmother take the finger like this and wipe it in the cannery, so like how Indian people does eat from, the lotus leaf. The water lily leaf. And she walk it up so, and then she eat it like that. That's how Cheryl grandmother was eating the food. They call the food turn up. The grandmother was eating turn up. And Cheryl said to me, she said, "When I see mother eat that turn up," I said to myself, me making all them picnic down, because picnic want all the food me got to eat, and she said, "Me never punish so." She saw what her grandmother was doing as punishment. The grandmother was punishing. Maybe that's so, but what I see is sacrifice. Sacrifice. This lady shows us the privations that mothers endure for us to become the people we've become. Sometimes those privations can be good mulch for growth. They turn us past, and they are, gone on. We are left with these stories. And there's a thing that the scholar Malaya Powell says in the discipline of rhetoric and composition and in cultural rhetorics. She says the thing about stories, you cannot unhear them. You cannot unhear stories. So when I tell you these stories and your mothers tell you these stories, you can't unhear stories. And because you can't unhear them, we have a responsibility for those stories. What are we going to do with these stories? I see them as mulch for growth. And so one day, Cheryl said the darndest thing. And I don't know where this girl get this gumption from. So I asked her yesterday, I said, "Cheryl, how come you get the nerve to do what you did?" Let me tell you what she do. After she see she mother, she grandmother give out all the food. She said, but mother, you mean for tell me, why you make all them children this for a man who didn't seem to care for you? Because you see, Papa Adams used to come there and sleep some night. Even though he was the father of these children, he had another woman over the line with as many children, 12 children, so 24 grand picnic. This man, 24 children this man had. 24 children. And so Cheryl was amazed. And let me tell you, that's another thing that opened up this whole business of grit, because the other woman got the children over the line, and when those children behaved bad, they would run away and go to Mother Adams because they don't want to get licks. And the other woman would know, they had an understanding that these children are over there. Whether they had the rivalry and the hatred and whatever, I don't know. But when it came to the children, they put away the rivalry for this man. So Papa Adams used to come and sleep there. Cheryl said she used to vex her till when he come, because when he come, mother put she out the bedroom. And then sleep in the kitchen and the hall and so. And she didn't do like that. So she said to her, but why you make all these children for a man who won't seem to care for you? This aspect of this story, I've written articles about it. I've written chapters about it. Why would you make children for a man who don't seem to care for you? That is loaded. And so I asked her, I said, Cheryl, how can you get in nerve to ask Mother Adams? Because, you know, in village, if you go and ask big people's story and supposed to ask, they're going to slap you in the mouth and they chase you away. And then when they want to beat you for things, if you cry, they tell you that's what you're crying for. And when you don't cry, they say you're stubborn. They beat you, they cry, you cannot cry, you're not cry. You can't, it's impossible, right? So she was working up against some systems that were there. But she said she had a good relationship with Mother Adams. Things that she couldn't ask her own mother, she could ask the grandmother. The grandmother was very open with her. And the grandmother said, girl, what I'm going to tell you? What I'm going to tell you? And then she asked another question. Well, Mother Adams never really answered that question. But then she turned around and she said, but mother, you mean for tell me, in you time they didn't have abortion? Ay, ay, ay. And where this girl get this gumption for ask a woman there? If they been got abortion. This story shows generational gap, how Cheryl perceived children. That children require sacrifice, that bring punishment. And she couldn't understand why this lady, who was a water bearer, would make 12 children for a man who got 12 children somewhere else. And then she got to eat ton up. And mother said to her, girl, I can tell you, I've been thinking that every one of them I make, they're going to take me out, they're going to do something for me and take me out my poverty. Yeah. So this tells me that children were social capital. Just like how you're putting away for your pension and your social security, that was what children were. In those days, when Mother Adams was growing up, I don't know if that has changed a lot, because in some ways, Caribbean people and Guyanese people still see their children as capital. They still live vicariously through their children, because even though they encourage them to get ambition and pick pride and accomplish, they live through them. And their expectations that children will do for them, will take care of them. And if you don't believe me, think about it, because I remember when I first had that encounter. I was at a school, I was doing my master's degree, and there was a story we were doing, and we had to provide solutions. And one of the solutions was taking the mother to the nursing home in her old age. And I couldn't understand why that was a solution. I couldn't understand that cultural thing in America, that a parent would be taken to a nursing home in their old age. And the students were choosing that option. So I said, why would you do that? They said their parents would expect them to not take care of them, or like how in the Caribbean, you would have your old parents in the house and they take care of them until they die, right? There's an expectation that parents would take care of themselves so they don't burden their children. In the Caribbean, that's not so. And it's still so, because to take your children to nursing home is a big sin and a big curse. You know what kind of cost it is when you going to take your mother to Arms House? You know what I mean? You can't take your parents to Arms House. It's big cost. Cost you can't take water to wash it out. Even you got to struggle with your mother. That is what we do. And if you can't struggle with her, somebody in the village will come and take over and help you out. There's so many people in the village who are bedridden and whatever, and the village people will come in and do it. They even have people in the village who take on those roles, where they would go and help out in certain situations. You know, whoever old people need pampers, who need change, you know, who need medicine, people fall into those roles. And in literature or cultural studies and so on, we talk about other mothering. You know, that's what is happening. So it takes a village to do this stuff. So Cheryl saw what was happening very differently, and she couldn't see that Mother Adam was enacting a way of being, which I could see was something to be done post-slavery, you know. How else would you survive if you didn't have many children to help you survive? You see what I'm saying? So Cheryl saw another way out. So I want to have us think and not forget of how we come so big, how we grow so big. That post-colonial women in villages of African descent in particular took particular steps for social mobility and self-actualization. And those steps came at a price. They came at a price tag. Is a kind of tax that our grandmothers paid, and sometimes they paid forward. They used their wombs as incubators for social uplift. Yeah, they did that. And they made their babies as social security and as old age pension. And the effect still remains with us, because sometimes we carry these stories, and the way we even behave and think are informed by that. Because like I just said, I couldn't think the way Americans thought about old people, you know. There's still people that we should take care of and not give to other people to take care of, our responsibilities. So I would ask you, how do you connect with this story? What is your story? What are some of your experiences? And how do you talk about ambition and about grit? Because I see this story here as a story about grit. How do you do? And how do you recognize, if at all, the hallmarks of how you grow so big? Walk good.